Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm doing a really exciting video. When I was contacted by the publishers and asked if I would take part in a special vlogging event or blogging event for London Pride, I readily agreed. I'm not being paid for this. I have been sent the books for free, but as always they will be my honest reviews. London Pride is brilliant. I've been once before up during Pride time, and the atmosphere is buzzy and happy, and it's just such a really wonderful event to promote LGBT love and unity. Last year's Pride, in fact, was the biggest London Pride ever, with 40,000 people coming up to London to take part in the parade, with over 1 million people actually coming up during Pride time. Last year, everyone was stunned after the shootings in Orlando, and yet people still came out to show their solidarity in love, and that love conquers all, and that it doesn't matter who you love, it's just about loving. In 2017, the Pride is focusing on a tagline, "Love happens here." This year is marking 50 years since London Parliament voted to legalise homosexuality in the UK, and the people will be marching for the Pride in London for the messages of unity, hope, acceptance, activism and love. This year Pride is looking to ask everyone to talk about love happens here, to talk about where they had their first kiss, where they went on their first date, a neighbourhood where they felt comfortable stepping out and being who they are. And they're asking people to share their stories so that they can mark them on a map of London, and there can be a show of how wonderful it is that love happens all across the capital. So in support of London Pride, I was sent 2 LGBT books by the publishers, and these fit in really well with the theme of love happens here. One is fiction, one is non-fiction. They're both very different, but both got 4 stars from me. I was really blown away by them and thought they were brilliant reads. I'm going to start with the fiction, and it's one you may have seen floating about a lot recently, and that is Noah Can't Even by Simon James Green. I hadn't heard of Simon James Green, but he has written and directed for Hollyoaks, and his first feature film, The Infinity Boys, is currently in development. And I just really enjoyed this story. Now, the banana is very eye-catching on the front and actually does play a role. There is a scene involving a banana in the book. Perhaps not what you're thinking, but still a very good, well, maybe it is a little bit, but well, I'll wait for you to read it and find out. But yes, the banana does play a role in the book. It hasn't just been popped in there as a bit of a phallic symbol. We're following a boy called Noah, and throughout the book we learn his foibles and his little quirks. He's a little bit socially awkward, he's a little bit unique, he's a little bit, well, a whole lot of wonderful really. And I loved his character. He is very unsure of himself. He's very not cloistered, or he just doesn't really understand his age group. He doesn't really understand the social norms and social etiquette, so it does get him into a lot of sort of interesting and funny conversations. He wants to be like everybody else, which I think is something that when we were at school we can all understand, unless you're really confident and sure of yourself, which I think is wonderful. Often when you're at school, I remember just needing to fit in and just wanting to be able to fit in with everybody else, and he's desperate to fit in, and he's decided that he needs to get himself a girlfriend, and he's picked this girl that he really likes, so he's decided he's going to sort of woo her. And meanwhile, him and his best friend Harry have a wonderful relationship. They've been friends for years. They go to each other's house every day after school. They just have a wonderful relationship. One night Noah goes to his first party, and Harry kisses him. And this changes him and his views and confuses him and leads to many interesting and funny escapades. There's also side characters of family. His mum is a Beyonce tribute act who doesn't really want to believe she is the age she is. There is his father who disappeared and he's desperate to find out what's happened. It's very quirky and funny, and there's plenty of plot points going on, and it was just such a fun read. So as I'm going to do with both these books, I just want to read you a couple of pages to give you an idea of the writing style. I'm going to be reading in both cases from the start of the book, so as not to spoil you on anything. Noah clung on for dear life. One slip and that would be it. He wasn't sure how much longer his fingers could hold out. If he let go, instant death. Maybe that would be the best option now. Was that how this would end? 3 weeks before his 16th birthday. Had he achieved enough in his short life that he would be headlines in the paper? Sure, he'd had his spelling bee medal, 2nd place, thanks to that villainous word, dodecahedron. 12 scout badges and a certificate for making the best apple crumble in food technology. But would it be enough for them to describe it as a tragedy? Would they print things like, he had so much to offer the world, and his death is a huge loss, not just to society, but mankind? He sighed. Probably not. Damn it! Why hadn't he donated his liver to a dying child or raised millions for blind orphaned puppies in Peru? On the other hand, did he want a newspaper article at all? They would only go and illustrate it with a photo from his Facebook profile, and knowing his luck it'd be with one of him crying at his 13th birthday party when his mum hired a stripper because she thought it would be funny. It wasn't at all funny. All he wanted was a pizza, bowling and a sleepover with Harry. Instead, she'd invited a load of her own mates over with Bambi sugar pops and her terrifyingly medically unfeasible breasts. At least in his young death there might be a certain kind of glory. At least he would be immortalised, never growing old, forever young and... "Get the hell down, you skinny little runt!" shouted Mrs. O'Malley from the bottom of the climbing frame, blowing her whistle at him. "Now!" Noah felt his knees weaken as he glanced down at her. Mrs. O'Malley had a hard, craggy face that had clearly never seen a drop of moisturiser, and a body so ravaged with physical exercise it was a solid rectangular block of pure muscle. She wasn't just the PE teacher from hell, she was Satan in a tracksuit. "I can't! I'm stuck!" Noah lied, readjusting the stupidly small shorts that his mum had bought him in year 8 and had point-blank refused to upgrade ever since. If this debacle would just end swiftly and quietly, he could totally reconsider his atheism. I'm not going to read on because the fun continues, but you can get an idea of the writing style of this, and I definitely recommend it. It was a really wonderful read and some really good LGBT themes in there. And now for the second 4-star read, which I want to talk about, is my non-fiction book, and this came as a bit of a surprise to me. It's called Girl Hearts Curl, and it's by Lucy Sutcliffe. Now, I didn't know that Lucy Sutcliffe actually became quite famous through her YouTube videos, and this is sort of the story documenting the lead up to what happens in her videos. So Lucy Sutcliffe is a lesbian, and she met her girlfriend online and they talked via Skype. And they would then, because she's from the UK and her girlfriend was in the US, and they met up and she documented their first meeting, and subsequently they had a long distance relationship for quite a long time, and she documented that through video because she was interested in video. She was training in filmmaking, and she documented it, and it just became a massive phenomenon on the internet. It was a wonderful story of love and coming out and sharing your story. And really fits in with this year's Pride of Love Happens Here, actually. So this was something I didn't know about, and it was something that I really enjoyed when I was reading it, actually. So if you haven't, and you decide to read the book and you haven't seen her videos, or even if you have, it was really good to sort of go back and watch some of them whilst I was reading. This is basically documenting Lucy's journey, discovering that she was a lesbian and how that happened. And what I really liked about it is Lucy's got her head screwed on, and it's a very slow process for her, and she covers things like how she wasn't really interested in boys and she didn't really understand why, and she hadn't really thought about being interested in girls, but she sort of had this massive admiration for Emma Watson, and she always had her on her wall, but she thought that was just because she loved Harry Potter. And it was just about her process mentally, first discovering that she did have feelings for girls, then realising that she wanted to share that with her closest friends and family, and how she went about that. And I really enjoyed it. I read this in a number of hours. It's quite a short book. It's only sort of just coming up to 300 pages, and it's, you know, quite big writing, but it documents that journey that she went on, and I really appreciated her sharing that. I think Lucy was incredibly lucky. She had a wonderful group of friends, and even though there was those horrible people at school that really just, oh, they make me sick. I just, you know, really just let everybody live and be themselves. And there's people that will be nasty no matter what your sexuality, no matter who you are, they'll find something to pick on you because they feel bad about themselves. And I loved that Lucy found herself a really wonderful support network and group of friends that she trusted, and how accepting they were of her, how excited they were for her when they found out that she had a girlfriend. And I really loved that, and I loved how open her family and Kaylin, her girlfriend's family, were. And I think it's just a really wonderful story to show people that you can just be who you want to be, and you're not alone in perhaps the way you're feeling or thinking. And this, I hope, will bring some comfort and some insight to people that maybe are struggling with their sexuality, and that they you know, feel different and they don't understand why. I definitely think this is worth reading. So I just want to read you the first part of The Girl Hearts Girl. In times of sadness and distress, I have often sought comfort in the idea that the best is yet to come. To me, the best doesn't have to be the glitz and glamour of some star-studded bright lights premiere where I'd walk down the red carpet in a custom Vera Wang ball gown and everyone is screaming my name. The best can be a steaming hot cup of coffee early one November morning when it's still dark outside, and all I can see when I look up is the fluorescent amber glow of streetlights against the slow rise of dawn. The best can be when I'm swimming in the sea against the current, the warm waves lapping at my face, my heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through me, just breathing, floating, drifting. The best can be the way snow settles over a busy city quietly, slowly, then all at once, covering the world in a bright white blanket of the same clean slate. If you're sat here with this book in your hands and shaking your head sadly, convinced that nobody in the world cares about you, let me tell you, they do. There are people in the world that will love and support you no matter who you are, even if the idea of being loved feels like it couldn't be further away from your grasp, even if the thought of getting out of bed in the morning sometimes makes you feel sick, even if your hands shake in public places and your voice wobbles when you speak to people you don't know. No matter your gender or sexuality, you will be loved. You are good enough. There are people in this world that are cheering you on as you round every corner and jump every hurdle, willing you forward, hoping you'll make it. You might not have met them yet, but they're there, I promise. You're not alone. And if you only take one thing from reading this book, let it be this. It gets better. Lucy. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope these two books are interesting to you. It's really important to me because even though I'm heterosexual, I have a daughter and I want her to know that she can be whatever she wants to be, and I will always love and support her. And I think once I had her, I realised how important it was to be sharing the message with her through stories. I want her to grow up reading stories about all sorts of people. I want her to feel comfortable to just be who she wants to be, to love who she wants to love, and that me and her father will always support her. So I really want to cover myself and read and digest as many books about different people to myself as I can, so that I can share those books with her in the future and help her to feel secure and comfortable in who she wants to be. So both of these books I can highly recommend. I gave them both 4 stars. Thank you so much to the publishers for allowing me to be part of this, and I will be watching this year's London Pride with interest and joy and celebrating with everybody else. So anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.